Hey, it's your friendly neighborhood Potato Witch. Welcome to the show. I'm sure at this point, pretty much everyone and their dog knows that I'm really big into monster catching games. Pokemon, Digimon, Shin Megami Tensei, you name it. My squishy little potato brain is comforted and entertained by the ability to travel around and encounter all manner of cool creatures, befriend and train them, while together we take over the world, or save the world, or possibly just hang out at gyms beating up other people who feel similarly, I don't know. Lucky for me, there are a whole lot of offerings to choose from within the genre. Not so lucky for me, a lot of them end up being super derivative, or occasionally actual clones of more popular games. By which I mean, the game is called like Monster Battle Championship or something, and it's got a logo that features an original design, but the actual game is literally just a ripped version of Pokemon Emerald. So, it's always cool when something distinct comes along, something that falls into the genre I love, but clearly isn't trying to crib its style from something more successful. Enter Siralim 3, developed by Thylacine Studios, and I want to say right now I'm only assuming it's pronounced Siralim and not like Siralim. I don't know, I don't know how to pronounce it, I'm gonna stick with Siralim. And I'll also say right from the outset that I have not played the first two games. I don't own them. I got this game because it seemed like the largest and most complete of the three Siralim games currently available, and a little research told me that the games were connected, but you could easily play one without having played the others. It seemed like a safe bet. And I was not disappointed. Siralim 3 starts off with you, the player, as either the queen or king of a place called Nex, and your castle is under attack. With the aid of the gods, you fight off the invaders, who were sent by the monarch of Siralim because mumble reason something. With the invaders repelled, your job is now to help the gods restore balance and control to their own lands, realms that have been corrupted by more enemies sent by Siralim. But the further you progress, the more you help, the more signs appear to indicate things are not what they seem, that darker forces are at work here, and that even the gods themselves might not be able to be trusted. I mean, when one of the gods makes a lot of noise about you having to restore balance to the realms, but then one of them forces you to kill an innocent, it's probably a sign that something's not quite okay here. Siralim 3 is a game that can be best described as a simple concept with impressively deep mechanics, and that is both extremely accurate and also something that saved my sanity as I was playing it. For context, my health has kinda sucked lately, what with pain and pain-induced insomnia, and all the fun brain fog you'd imagine that would come with that combo. And Siralim 3 was the perfect game to keep me company during the nights when pain kept me awake. It was simple enough that I could play it while half distracted by hurting, but also complex enough to encourage a lot of really fun customization when my mind was clearer. I played this game almost obsessively, and it really did a lot to help distract me from pain and keep me entertained, where other games might have either been too mindless or too complex. It struck exactly the right balance, and I am incredibly grateful for that. Now, what do I mean by simple but with deep mechanics? Well, let's start with the most obvious, your team of 6 monsters. You acquire new monsters by extracting cores from the ones you battle on the field, so every new encounter is an opportunity to expand on your team or improve upon it. There are over 700 monsters in this game, so yeah, acquiring them all is going to take a lot of time and effort. If you're the trophy hunter or completionist type, you will be sinking a whole load of hours into Siralim 3 in order to get and do everything. Plus, Siralim has singular monsters, which are reskins of the standard monsters and super rare. Find one in battle, extract a core from it, and now you too can have your own differently colored red storm or gelatinous slime. They don't actually differ from regular monsters in any way but appearance. They're not stronger or weaker or with different abilities or spells than your standard monster, but they're a cool thing to try and collect as you progress. How does finding every singular monster variant sound when there are over 700 of them? Daunting? Fun? Both? I mean, you're not wrong if you pick both. So, I've covered most of the simple, but what about the mechanically deep? Well, each monster has a trait, a special passive ability for battles. Sometimes it's a trait that boosts your stats after you take your turn, sometimes it's something that can boost healing magic, sometimes it's something that will damage enemies after they take their turn. Sometimes it's something that's best combined with the traits of other monsters that share a similar breed, like the family of aspects, or hounds, or griffins, as they provide additional benefits if more of those kinds of monsters are in your party. But your monsters can also equip artifacts, which are basically just weapons or armor. Only one artifact per monster, but after a while, you'll see that these artifacts can not only provide a boost to stats, but can be used to provide an additional trait to the monster on whom it's equipped. You can customize the traits on weapons too to better get what you need. The mix and match customization, plus the fact that no monster is inherently bad in battle, means you can really go all out and build your team the way you truly want to. By the time I beat the game, I had my team boosting stats and doing extra passive damage to enemies nearly constantly, meaning I was able to handle enemies over 15 levels higher than my own with no difficulty. The only thing I didn't have going was constant healing, but considering I could beat most things within a single round, I didn't exactly need it. Want even more bang for your buck? How about the fact that there is no level cap? Yeah, you heard me. No level cap. At least not that I've seen anyone actually find. I've seen screenshots from people who have teams over level 1000, people on Reddit sharing their builds which include creatures over level 40,000, and holy crap, the dedication it must have taken to get that far. I've been playing for over 50 hours, my team is in the 200s, which isn't anything to sneeze at, but it's not even close to 1,000. I don't even want to think of what I'd need to do to hit level 40,000. The dungeons you crawl are all randomly generated, so no two are the same. They're not super complicated to find your way around, and there's a map function that fills in and shows key landmarks once you've discovered them, so it's pretty tough to get lost as you wander through the realms and train your murderous little demon team. The first time you visit a realm, there'll be a plot-related quest that you have to do in order to move on to the next level, but after that you can come back and run the level anytime you want, and a new random quest will be generated. Mostly the quests are just great ways of gaining favor with the gods who rule over that particular realm, and enough favor will allow you to purchase unique monster cores from their shrines, as well as grant you new NPCs or options for your Kingdom of Necks. Gaining favor with the gods unlocks things like difficulty adjustment, which can also net you better loot, always a good time, or the ability to enchant artifacts with traits like I mentioned earlier, or the ability to breed monsters, or other things to make the game a little richer and a little more rewarding as you go. Oh yes, there is breeding in this game, because of course there is. It's not breeding as you might think of it if you've only played the Pokemon games, because here, once the parents have bred and produced an egg, they, disappear. I guess maybe it's like some insects that eat their mates? I don't know. That sort of sounds logical, so I'm gonna go with it. Anyway, there are tons of different breeding combinations in the game, some of which you can discover from scattered notes all around the dungeons, and some you can find out just by smooshing two monsters together and seeing what happens. Newly hatched babies gain a bunch of experience from their parents, so they won't take as long to train up as you might be thinking. And even if they didn't, well, just leaving them in the castle stables will slowly raise their levels, so it's still a viable way to get some stronger team members as options while you're still working on your main team. But more than that, when a monster kills enough enemies, it becomes primed, which is a fancy way of saying it can pass heredities along to its offspring. In a practical sense, that means one stat will increase and one will lower, and that stat differs depending on which monster you're trying to breed. These bonuses do stack up to 15, I believe, so with enough patience and grinding up fodder monsters through lower levels of the dungeons, you can end up with a whole load of primed monsters ready to pass along stat mods to their offspring. And it might seem pointless to do if one stat decreases while another one increases, but I mean, if you have a monster that doesn't really use its intelligence stat because it's not a spellcaster, but it would be really great if it had a boost to speed so it could attack sooner, then it's worth it to pile all those heredities on. It's just a matter of figuring out what you want, how you want to use it, and what you're willing to sacrifice in exchange for a better loadout. See what I mean when I said this game can be simple, but it also has a whole load of complexities and deep mechanics to play with? If you want to just ignore a lot of the more complicated stuff and play through the game until you beat the main story, cool, that's definitely possible, and it wouldn't even be that difficult to do. But if you want to mess around and tweak things and really min-max it all and take full advantage of every single option the game gives you access to, then it is absolutely built to allow players that power, and I think that is awesome. Some games will have deep mechanics but hide them in obscurity, relying on players to stumble across them almost accidentally and then debate for ages as to whether what they discovered is really a thing. See Pokemon's early days for more info about that. Other games wear their power gaming on their sleeve and just let you go to town with it all. So, you might be wondering at this point, just how long is this game if there's no level cap and a rich breeding system and what feels like a zillion fighting creatures to hunt down? I mean, it would be easy to say it's as long as you want it to be, though not everyone's going to play it for hundreds of hours. The main story, though, is probably about 30 hours long. The story itself is the simplest of simple things, just going from one realm to the next, beating a boss every 3 levels or so, and then moving on. Took me around 30 hours to beat the main story, and I admit I hung back sometimes to grind out some levels or to try and train up something new or experiment a bit, but I also think I was kinda underleveled for the final boss since I managed to get a fun combo of traits and stats that allowed me to do more damage than I might otherwise. I have no idea if my experience is the average. I'm only basing that info on howlongtobeat.com, which admittedly doesn't have a lot of data from players. But either way, the main storyline is simple and straightforward, and I think the devs knew that most players would not be playing the game for the story, but for the mechanics of raising awesome teams of badass scary creatures. That's why there's a robust post-game experience that can carry on for as long as you want to play it. Want to keep pushing for greater depth in the dungeons? Cool, have at. Want to take a break and fight in the arena with a selection of pre-selected monsters that you didn't train and you might actually be encountering for the first time? Also a good option, especially since you gain arena points for winning and you can exchange those for new cores or items. Similar to the arena, there's also Tavern Brawls to participate in, which pit your team against other players' teams to see who comes out victorious. Teams are all scaled to level 100, so don't worry about encountering a team that's like 3,000 levels stronger than you. Things are made as fair as they can be in the tavern, and what matters most at that point are traits and strategy. Also like the arena, winning Tavern Brawls gives you tokens that you can exchange for spell gems or yet more cores, making it one more thing to add to your growing to-do list if you really want to see all 700 plus monsters in this game. There are also the Ethereum Realms to explore, and to be honest, these look and work pretty much exactly like regular realms. They have the same themes as various realms of the gods that you've been traversing throughout the whole game. They have a quest to complete before you can move on. You still gain favor with the god of that particular realm, but they are a bit more challenging, and they're good to test your team against. Ethereum Realms need a sigil to access, and those sigils will provide a bonus to enemies, a detraction to the player, or both, which ramps up the difficulty and forces you to be a bit more creative about how you handle things. Battles in the Ethereum Realms also give you a chance to find Ethereum creatures, which are special versions of regular monsters, only with stats and traits that cannot be found elsewhere, so they too are worth extracting cores from and adding to your roster. Plus, the Ethereum Realms are where you go to improve your talismans, which grant you bonuses just from being in your inventory, and then get even more powers when they hit level 100. Talismans can gain a maximum of 3 levels per Ethereum Realm you conquer, so even if you have the best of luck, you are still going to need to clear 34 Ethereum Realms to unlock the bonus powers of even one talisman. And there are a couple of dozen talismans you can get access to. Also, each monster has a card, which drops rarely and gives you bonuses just for having it. Look, Siralim 3 is a grinder's paradise, make no mistake. If that's not the sort of thing that appeals to you, then the best parts of this game will be parts that you likely won't enjoy. It's not a sit down and beat it in a weekend sort of game, but the kind of game that will require dozens, even hundreds of hours to fully appreciate, and I absolutely understand that this sort of game does not appeal to everyone. Hell, I'm pretty sure it doesn't even appeal to most people. But me, I've been a level grinder since I started getting into RPGs back in my teenage years, and when I have a goal in mind, I will have no problem spending hours and hours fighting battle after battle to get a few more levels, to find some rare loot, or just to explore that tiny bit further. If you're thinking of playing Siralim 3, know what you're getting into and be prepared for the long haul. I've sunk more hours into this than I do most RPGs, and I am nowhere near to discovering the full experience yet. I know just from teaser info on the developer's website that there are things I have not seen, and that to finally see them, I am going to be playing this game for many more insomnia-filled nights. But you know what? I'm more than okay with that. Like I said, I found this game at exactly the right time, when I needed something that could be as simple or as complicated as I need it to be, where no mistake is permanent because stat points can always be redistributed, new monsters can be created and trained and bred all over again if you decide you did something wrong. Even dying in battle just teleports you back to your castle, consequence-free aside from a couple of lost items, none of which are irreplaceable. It's a fascinating mix of brutal and forgiving, a game that gives you all the options but doesn't toss you into the deep end and demand you learn them all right away or else you're screwed later on. It is the perfect insomnia game, the perfect game to play while you're listening to audiobooks or watching TV, because so much of it can be done with merely a goal in mind and a whole lot of patience. Like I said, it's exactly what I need right now when my health is giving me a lot of crap, and I am ridiculously glad that I bought it when I did. I have no idea if it's worth it to consider playing the previous 2 games in the series. Siralim 3 has the most content, but from what I can gather online, other games have mechanics that this one doesn't, which were changed due to popularity or better ideas or whatever. But I'm really curious to see how those mechanics might change how I play the game, and what content might be available to me that I like better than the most recent game. Note that I'm saying most recent because as of the time of recording this video, the upcoming Siralim Ultimate has not been publicly released. But if my experience with Siralim 3 is anything to go by, I think it's a safe bet to assume that I'll be getting the next game as soon as I'm able to. These are games I need in my life, to keep me happy when my health sucks, to soothe my mind when I need a repetitive task to focus on, or when I'm looking for something purely mechanical that's light on story. I do love me some deep story in games, that much is no secret, but I am a sucker for games as mechanically complex as this. Like I said, don't look to Siralim if you're not the sort to find entertainment in grind games, but very much do look to it if that's your jam as much as it is mine. The graphics may be simple, the story may be simple, but everything else shines like a beacon to power gamers. It has a dedicated fan base that seems more keen to help out new players than to brush them off with a get good scrub commentary, which is incredibly refreshing and also very inviting, and I can seriously see myself playing these games for a very long time to come. I mean, I kinda have to. There's so much left to uncover. I'm not sure I could rest easy knowing that I left so much undiscovered if I stopped playing now. Hey, thanks for watching to the end of the video. I hope you liked this review of Siralim 3, and if you did, it would mean a lot if you clicked that like button or left a comment telling me if this sort of grind-happy game is one you would also enjoy. If you like what I do here, feel free to subscribe and click the bell so you can be notified whenever I upload a new video. I have plenty more on the way. Until then, friends, take care and happy gaming.